Hey, folks, it's Lindsay hosting with SPS back in the building for the SPS Edge Show with my guy, greatest co-host in the land, Mr. Terry McCord Jr. Can't wait to the day where he's going to be introducing his own show. He's going to bring me on every now and then and give me a little airtime. Terry McCord, how you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. We got some interesting topics coming up. I'm interested to hear the comments of what everybody's feeling because I've been looking at social media a little bit. I've been taking a break from it, just trying to get myself centered for the new year. But I've been seeing even commenters, people that don't even watch sports. What about that AB guy? Or how's MSU doing? Or just common questions I've been hearing. I've been hearing a lot of perspectives, so I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Terry, you made that point last week, and my mom was quick to point that out, how you appreciate the different perspectives. And I think that's important. Sometimes I find myself looking in the comment section before I read an article. And it's not so much to look to the comment section to get the content, but it's really to get an idea of the sway of where people are at, the tone they're taking. Right. And I think that's always very interesting to see, where people are coming out and what they're on. But without further ado, man, we're going to get to it, man. We got a great lineup, a number of things we want to talk about. We want to welcome all our guests. Shout out to Latasha Price, Prince, who's always putting it out for us, Auntie representing Columbus, and all our great followers and viewers. So with that, we'll start with our first issue. We're going to talk about some good old high school hoops, man. Isn't that cool that we could talk about prep sports and high school hoops and everything that's going on? Got my guys showing up. Trayshawn Adams representing the Everett Vikings, as well as my guy OG Milton Barnes, who's had a storied career. They're going to be coming to town over at Jackson. So it's going to be a clash of the Vikings, that is. Young versus old, for lack of a better term. These are two great guys, two very good friends of mine. So I'm looking forward to going over there. There's going to be a number of basketball being played out on the west side of the state this weekend. I want to shout out my guy Keith Guy and the Muskegon Big Reds. They're hosting a three-game showcase that's going to include Henry Ford, my alma mater, Detroit Henry Ford Trojans, playing the Waverly Warriors. So that's going to be a great matchup. Rod Watts, as well as Keith Tate and Travis Neller will be going out there representing. Be some great basketball. And also is going to be you're going to have Detroit King matched up against. There's going to come to me in a second who Detroit King is playing. Then the final game is going to be Muskegon versus Benton Harbor. So it's going to be some great matches. We got a comment already ready to go. Hey, it's our brother from another, Aaron Mays. Aaron Mays in the building. Aaron, how you doing, brother? Happy New Year to you. I know you were over at Farmington High School a few weeks ago during North Farmington, that is, when they had the games going on and whatnot. Sorry that I missed you over there, but we appreciate you. But we got you in the building. There he is, Aaron saying what's up. We got to get down, as they say. I want to be spending a lot more time in the city. We're doing some work with some great teams, including Ferndale High School. So we'll make sure we get together, brother. We're glad you're here. We want to get your opinions and go from there. So want to talk about this matchup. What do you think about what's happening with high school basketball? Because these games, the one I'll be attending tomorrow, is being played without spectators. At max, they allow 2 spectators per player. So we're kind of getting back into that early COVID type scenario where it's a bubble, high school bubble world, if you will. How do you think these players are responding to it, Ted? Do you think they're ready for it? They've been dealing with it just another day, or it is what it is?
Well, I think, as long as they're playing, they'll be happy. I'm just really proud that they're not just shutting it out, and they're willing to try and keep sports going. One, and maybe the revenue about it, and then 2, public opinion. But I think ultimately they're just looking to kind of be solution-oriented because we saw in the past where they brought back high school basketball and they had the tickets limit and, the certain amount of people for a game. And we saw basketball be able to still be played during the pandemic last season. So we're seeing them that they're using what worked and they're bringing it back, and hopefully they expect it to work again. So I'm really excited that they're not shutting it down. But I do think that it might end up being shut down for 2 weeks. Hopefully it's not during playoff time.
Hey, don't let Aaron's comments influence what you was thinking. Don't worry about Aaron. We're gonna get to him in a minute.
I think it's a good. I think it's smart though, because I think having that pause, which I think there should be a pause after winter break, because it's family. Everyone's going home, and a lot of COVID cases have been sparking up due to a lot of people traveling from all kinds of different locations coming together and meeting for the weekend or so. So I think having that pause like the Lansing School District did, I think it's important, and teams are still getting tested. So I think as long as they're still doing that and they're willing to work with it, I think it'll be okay, but I wouldn't be surprised about a pause.
Well, to the point about a pause, my work with the Lansing Public Schools, they did a pause for 1 week. And It has been announced the students will be returning to school on Monday. But part of that pause was also for staffing concerns, too. So a number of reasons why. Aaron, I know you have really been consistent with how you feel about COVID, and I appreciate you for that. When you talk about this 2-week pause to be able to work through the winter break and what's going on. However, I think that when you talk about the restrictions of limiting access, I think that helps with it. I spent the last couple of weeks, I was down in North Farmington. As you and I know, we missed each other down there. You do say February should be good. It'll be here sooner than we think. But no, it's going to be good to get caught up in a perfect example of some great basketball being played despite the limited spectators. Shout out again to North Farmington High School. Young man Landon Williams, shout out to his dad, Lamont Williams, and everyone. He was an SPS showstopper. I had to put that clip up there, man, because he had a great situation late in the game versus Clarkston. Iced 2 free throws to put them ahead. And let's check that out.
Let's go! Let's go, Landon! Ice it, Landon! Ice it, Landon! Let's go!
Hey, man, let me say something. That's a big deal. That is a big deal to be a high school athlete nowadays when you have collegiate and NBA players who are going to at least split it. He's on the road, big game. Those going to be game winner. And he went up there with no problem and did it. And then you wonder if the lack of fans being there added to it, but it still doesn't matter. So I want to shout out Landon Williams, shout out his dad, shout out the whole North Farmington Raiders family. I feel that's one of my adopted schools, man. I'm always riding with them. Shout out to the Sprats. I got Tyler and, of course, Ryan Hurst and the Hurst family, everyone as well. So with that being said, man, what do you think about seeing a high school player, step up and just knock down 2 free throws? It's just like common stuff, what's the big deal, or is it a little bit more to that?
No, it was really cool, seeing that from Landon. I think I really enjoyed our conversation we had, our interview, and he was talking about his excitement for the upcoming year and the team that they have. I think it's really nice to see, another player get some love on that great team. I mean, we hear Tyler, Ryan, and now it's Landon. So it's like, it just shows how deep the team is. There's a lot of talent, and it's just a credit to, them being able to put the pieces together and have a really good run. But you just see them being able to overcome that road factor. Anytime you got to ask someone to hit 2 big shots, 2 big free throws to seal the game up, no matter the fans or not, those are 2 important shots. A lot of things come, you start to overthink, anxiety, the expectations of making them, you're a good player, like all that stuff comes, but to be able to do it in a calm fashion that he did, it's almost like he didn't even think about it. So credit to him, just, cool as ice, hitting the free throws, and it looked like he's practiced. So he practiced I don't even know how to say, but I'm lost for words, but he just really showed that he works on his game and that he's able to come in these situations to be able to do what he's always done.
Yeah, no, I think I'll add to what you're saying, that he had the mentality to be able to step in there and do that. Like he had prepared himself for this moment. You're right. You had a chance to interview Landon when he came down for the SPS Stars Showcase over at Harper Woods. He had an outstanding showing, and you're right. He is a sophomore on a team that has 2 other stars. You got Ryan Hurst, and we're going to get some T-shirts made up that say, "Because I'm Ryan." That was his comment when he talked about the great coaching staff and how they coached him hard. And he talked about how so many people will let him get away with stuff because I'm Ryan. Then you got Tyler Spratt. Oh, man, Todd Bergen, Syracuse great. And Detroit once said, "Hey, this dude's a sophomore. This kid going to be an All-American." And then you got Landon finding his way. And another thing I'll say is that sometimes you got to find your way, man, not just scoring a bunch of points, but scoring points at the right time. Yeah. Who knows whatever else he did throughout the game, but those 2 points were really big. And like our brother Aaron May says, that's a huge accomplishment with or without fans. Thank you for pointing that out, Aaron. He came up in the clutch, because I don't care, man. It could be an empty gym and nobody. free throws are not easy. And for him to have that mindset, and also the thing too, what is that going to do for him as a sophomore going forward, that he can have that confidence in himself? I'll try to split this clip up and make sure he can hear us talking about him, giving him a shout out. But he did a great job. A few more things. Nene said this COVID stuff has to mentally take a toll on high school. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I use Lansing as an example. All the neighboring school districts were still in after the break. They had to go sit down for a week with the potential of being out for an entire, who knows when, but they'll be back on Monday. So it definitely does have that kind of impact. Then they got a few more things. He said, you should interview with the young kid from Lansing, Everett, that's been balling. They call him Money Made Dre, a good young talent. Well, I'm going to be over there tomorrow. And my thought is, if, you do all the right things and you become the player of the game, you go sit down with SPS no matter what. But I'll make sure we make a way to do that. We want to give Nene what she wants. Also, Nene says, whatever happened to Dave Jones coaching at Eastern? Any reason he isn't coaching? And who's the head coach there? It's a kid I feel if he focuses on hoops 24/7, he can make a great name for himself. Kyron. Well, first of all, me and Terry both got number love for Coach Dave Jones and his coaching staff. That was Terry's coach, and I know you better have a couple positive things to say about him. Currently, Ron Banks is the coach at Eastern High School right now. Shout out to Ron Banks. Good dude, Lansing legend, no doubt, all the way around. What do you have to say about the experience you had playing for Coach Dave Jones, Terry?
I mean, he just brought a different level of intensity just coming into the year. And, I was able to be there, coaching, being with him and coaching a little bit last year during the pandemic, and then being able to play under him for 3 years. So, I mean, just a guy that expects a lot from you. He knows what he wants, and he expects to get that. Kind of like Coach Izzo. I mean, that was like someone who, he really modeled his coaching style after. And
he stayed in those practices too. He would always be there.
Right. Yeah. And we could just tell off of our success and how we leaned in as a team. And we didn't have any star players on our team, any All-Americans. Tracy was All-State afterwards. But coming into the year, none of us were getting looked at. But we all knew that we wanted to beat some of the top teams in our conference, the Williamstons, top 5 in the state, Class B. And we ended up placing in the state at the end of the season. So it was really cool to see from a team that has won no games coming up, and then for us to kind of change the narrative. But Kyron's my guy, and she brings a good point. Kyron was a freshman my senior year, and being able to take him under my wing for that year, I saw a tremendous amount of growth. Him just being able to control the pace. He can score the ball really well. The only thing, we really worked on him is just being able to take the lead and be able to, because he's soft-spoken, but I think, there are times, where when he speaks, everyone listens. And so I think as long as he continues to grow and stay focused, I think he's a tremendous talent. Football, too. I mean, the kid can play football, too.
Really. I think a big challenge a lot of times with these young athletes is that they may be so introverted that they don't realize that they can actually have two personalities. They can be their regular, everyday, quiet self, but on that court between them lines, Terry, you kind of had to go through that too, coming out of yourself early on when Coach Jones is empowering you. I mean, that's not a bad thing, but that's just normally soft-spoken people have a difficult time turning that around and being on the court, and I think it's an example of that. So
I got a quick story, though, too,
please,
real quick.
Go ahead.
I never forget, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Every year, he would bring us into his coaching office, and I remember my sophomore year, he give us a player or a role that he wants us to kind of model our game off of the year. And every year that role changes because you're growing, you're a better player. You may have to add something different to the team. And I remember the first time I went in, I'm a sophomore. It was like super quiet, and I'm introverted. I'm like, oh man, like what's going on? I'm shy a little bit. And, right away he was talking about, we got to work on your voice, and I'm really trying to give you the keys to the team, and being that leader, whether it's on or off the court. And I remember I got Xavier Simpson. I was watching all his highlights and seeing how I could be that kind of guy as great of a leader as he was at Michigan. And so it was really nice though, and it showed what kind of person he was. He sets down expectations, discipline, defense, and just playing hard. And I think that just reflected really well for me as I apply it to myself. Now everyone knows that sports and all those things can really apply to life, whether it's working hard, being resilient, and just finding your own voice in this crazy world right now as I'm getting older and trying to find my career path and seeing what God has for me. So I learned a lot under Dave Jones.
Yeah, Dave Jones is awesome. I'm trying to get my Dave Jones voice. Hey, man, I'm just trying to get you the keys to the car. I'm trying to get you the keys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Perfect. That's perfect. That's
good.
perfect.
Shout out to him, Justin Christian. But we also want to wish Ron Banks, who's been a great friend for years in my time here in Lansing, the best of luck in what's going on. And we want to keep supporting him. So with that, man, I love the fact that we can keep talking about hoops on that level. We'll just transition, Terry. That was a perfect segue talking about Izzo. And actually, I want to give a shout out to Mike Hoops page because this can be a transition where I want to share. He says, big question, is Michigan State this good or is the comp not high yet? I love Izzo, but I don't think they played no one great yet. So in the standings, it may look like they're elite, but I'm not sure. Thoughts and who y'all got, Michigan or Michigan State this Saturday? We'll talk about that in a second. But, Mike, we appreciate you setting us up for that. I was over in practice the other day and got a chance to talk to my guy, Iz, and the question I posed to him were about polls and what he thought about polls. So let's take a few minutes and listen to what Izzo has to share with us about that. And I'll get that to you in 1 second when I pull Mike's comments down. And here we go.
Tom, Happy New Year to you. I thought about it. I don't know your philosophy on polls. AP has you at 10. Are polls important or is that only in March?
You know, they were important at the beginning of the year when somebody told me that was the first time we were out of the top 25 at the start of the year since 98. Because that's something I'm proud of with this team, and I say consistency is what you want to build for. But the polls really don't mean anything right now. We learned in football that, there was a team that was playing for, Final Four that wasn't even in the rankings early, and some there were, some there weren't. So I think it's the same in basketball right now. If you look at the top 25, that thing's all helter-skelter compared to what it was at the beginning of the year. But it is good to keep moving forward in the right direction, and moving forward means top 20, top 15, top 10, and that means you're doing all right. And I think we deserve to be ranked, but I don't know how high, and I don't know who does and who doesn't. I just think there's a lot of teams out there right now that are very even. I don't see many teams that are far superior, nor do I see many teams that are way down. I mean, I look in our league and it's, even last night, Ohio State did play without a couple of their key guys again, and Wisconsin's done it. And we know Illinois has done it, I don't know how many injuries Michigan has, but they're building with new guys. Some of those teams that were ranked 4th, 5th, 10th, 11th, they're still really good teams. They just got to find themselves yet. I still think at the end of the day, you're going to see our league, maybe it dropped off a little bit right now, but I think there's too many good teams in the league. It's going to be right up there at the end.
How about this?
Yeah, man. Tom was great. I think he was still. There's always the answer you get when you're there with all the cameras, and there's another answer when you're able to talk off camera. I think he's absolutely right in saying that they don't matter right now. But he was at Michigan. He was kind of nudging when he said, "Hey, a team that wasn't even highly rated against that." I just think that the reason I brought that up because I know he pays attention to that, and then he did say, "Yeah, I pay attention to when I found out this is the first time since '98 that we have been out of the top 25 at the start of the season." And that was Mex Carey. Shout out to Mex, the communications director for the team, giving Izzo that stat, reminding him of that. But I think that you can't sleep on polls. I think polls are more ego-driven right now. But then he broke it down perfectly. He said, but you still want to move up bit by bit. I'm sure he'd rather be at the top at the end rather than now. But it was great getting that feedback. What do you think, Terry?
I think when I think of polls, I think with Izzo, and I agree too. I don't agree with the comparison with football and basketball because football is determined on your ranking. If you're in the top 4, you're in. If you're not, you're not competing for a national championship. But I did like what he said, how polls are important, but they're not. And I when I think of polls, I think of.
But how can you say that, Terry? Polls are important, but they're not. Either they are or they're not. I'm just challenging you just because.
Yeah, and I think polls are important because it's another affirmation that you're doing well as a team. I think there's levels to affirmations. One, being like if you're seeing guys ready to compete every day. Another is seeing something that you notice them struggling with, whether it's blocking out, team defense, points in the paint. We're seeing that stuff improve. We're seeing growth as a team. I think that's an affirmation. That stuff doesn't really show up in the polls, but polls can be an affirmation because, okay, we're beating some of the top teams. We're winning. We're on a 5-game win streak, and now we're top 5 in the nation. So I think that it shows that you're really growing as a team with the polls, and I call it affirmation. But I don't think it's important because the goal is to make it in the tournament. The goal is to compete. And in a sense, if you get in March, you're ultimately competing for a national championship, no matter what you're ranked, top 25, just outside 25, top 10. It doesn't matter. So I think he's right in a sense, saying that it doesn't matter. But again, it's another affirmation. Like, okay, we're top 10 and we started top 20. We were 23 in the nation and now we're 15. So it shows we're growing, whether we see it or not, but at least we're seeing it on the outside. But now we're going to start working on things internal to get better overall as a team. So when March comes, we're ready to compete.
Yeah, I love what you just said. And I think what I got from all that time from interviewing him to now, polls are excellent talking points. Because what you just said, the latter part of your statement was, okay, guys, this is where we are, and it gives you the talking point. If you're ranked number 1, hey, remember, we're ranked number 1 because we do this, we do this, we do that. If you're not in the ranking, like, look, dude, we're not even ranked. So what do we have to do? So I think polls can be a talking point. And a lot of times, and I'll just put this secret out there, when I get the chance to go talk to Coach Izzo, Hall of Fame coach of these players, I'm really doing it for the benefit of the prep players. I'm really doing it for the benefit of the high school coaches. There are several high school coaches I have in mind because I think they can take what Izzo says straight from the source, and that's chalkboard stuff, talking points, things they can put up to help their players understand. So when you get those rankings that come out, you can kind of level their head and let them know what's going on. But no, I definitely appreciate him giving that feedback. I think that's something that can be very, very helpful. You got anything you want to add on that?
No, I agree. And I appreciate that too, because those are things that high school coaches, they're prepping their guys to play at the next level. That's super important. And again, I think Izzo has reached the point where like he already knows what's needed to win and be able to compete and put his team in those places. So like polls, he's like, I guess they're important. It shows we're winning, but I know what my team needs to look like to be one of the last 4 or the last 2 remaining competing for a national championship.
And what I would have used in that time, at the time we went over and talked to some players, my follow-up to him off camera would be like, do you feel you have to explain this to your freshmen so they can understand? Because here he is, tenured seasoned coach. He knows, but I'm just wondering what it's like to get them to understand, because he knows they're looking at everything, they're reading everything. How do you help them do that? I want to tell all our viewers that are sitting in the comments, I see everyone's comments, and as I sit here and have this great conversation with Terry and you guys, I'm mentally organizing where these comments are going to come up. So everyone's comment will get acknowledged, and fortunately, there's a place for everybody. So I appreciate you guys, and if I haven't acknowledged your comment yet, I will. Aaron, right on time. Aaron said Izzo just got 4-star point guard for 2023. Jeremy Fields out of Indiana. He's always working. He's always doing. I want to mention something, too. I want to do a quick jump with college basketball. I heard something last night. I was going through the channels, watching, some games and getting caught up on some stuff. And they were talking about Duke versus Duke was playing Georgia Tech. And someone made a reference to commentator about, what's going on with Coach K. And he talked about this spark of energy, but he made a good point. He said an advantage Coach K has this year, he doesn't have to recruit, meaning he's not going to have to take that time out to go focus on. Now he may support the recruiting staff, he may have something going on, but it's not going to be as important. I know he wants to keep the legacy going, but I think that says a whole lot. But we'll definitely keep an eye out for Jeremy Fields out of Indiana. Let's take a quick break and recognize our sponsors, man. We got a great sponsor. Shout out to my guy, Horatio Williams of the Horatio Williams Foundation. Week after next, that's next Saturday, the 15th, I'll be down in Ferndale. Shout out to Juan Rickman and the Ferndale Falcons for a great day of hoops. I'll be letting you guys know more about that later. Also want to thank Dick's Sporting Goods. I was just over in Dick's, last week getting some items, and great managerial staff. Chris over there in the golf section was a hoot to talk to, but really cool guy. Shout out to Dick's, but also want to shout out to Gilead Sciences and all the support they've been providing. We got to meet Tiffany West, who represents Gilead on a national scale with diversity programs, as well as representing African-American programming. So some great things. Let me see, check on this comment real quick, and we get ready to move to the next part. I see my guy Larry got something on deck for us. Hoop Hype got some information. So we'll keep this in the high school piece. Happy birthday to Lansing legend LaDante Hinton. Showed him some love, no doubt. Shout out to Buckets. Happy birthday to you all the way. So now let's get into some NBA hoops. It seems like Larry was already putting it out there. A lot of fans had a problem with LeBron talking about I'm a problem against the Kings of being cocky against the Rockets, Timberwolves. Fans saying do that against the Warriors, Suns, Bucks, and Nets. That's fair. But, LeBron got to get in where he fit in as it relates to just reminding himself and also pumping himself up. Let's play a clip from what motivated me to put this out here with LeBron talking about what he really is to these folks out here. Don't forget.
LeBron all the way. LeBron score!
And one. And he has some words for Tristan Thompson. Looked right at him and said, yeah, you've seen this before. But did what I thought he was going to do, take over in the fourth. And he's taken over, either dishing it or scoring himself, as he has his team up 118 to 112.
Well, LeBron had 30 in the first meeting between these two. The 30-plus run ended the other night, but he still led the team in points, rebounds, and assists, and he's at it again.
In that last basket that he had, though, that's where the youth of Damian Jones, when I say the youth, the inexperienced. When you're a high fly act like that, you try to set the angle for the block. He didn't get any angle because LeBron got into his body too soon. And that's just the inexperience.
Come on, man. Hey, and that spicy language, there's a little bit added on. I didn't know. We talk about female dogs being out here. Now, to Larry's point, and of course I don't know this, you don't even know where the Kings talking trash. His former teammate is on there, Tristan Thompson. Was he chirping at him? But I tell you what, the boys had nothing to say on that sideline. Their whole sideline was like, dang. And the reason I really want to put that out there, man, is like, come on, man. And I know that I think Hoops Hype shouted out Ja Morant. Ja Morant is out here killing them, no doubt. But come on, man, 37 years old. Come on, man. Who is doing that? And to your point, Larry, say that about the Warriors, Suns, Bucks, and Nets, but I think there's no reason why it can't go down like that on any given night, too. A full-strength team, a good matchup put this way. LeBron James coming downhill against the Warriors, Suns, Bucks, or Nets, hey, minus a flagrant foul, it's potentially going to be the same outcome. Who going to stop him? James Harden? Who going to stop him? Steph Curry? Who else? Who going to stop him? Aiden may, try to put him on his back or something like that, or Antetokounmpo may go for it. But at
Crowder will.
You cannot hate on what this man is able to do at this age. He is still a problem. Terry McCord, what do you think?
Well, I think a lot of people talk about, well, he's not doing this against them, but in the month of December, he averaged 30.7 points, 6.5 assists, and 9 rebounds a game.
Hey, run that stat line again.
He averaged 30 points in December, 6 assists, and 9 rebounds, and shot 40% from the three, 55 from the field. Now, they're on a 3-game win streak. There's 6 in the East right now, 6 in the West, right now. And he averaged 28 on the season, 6 assists, 7 rebounds. All that is good, but what I'm proud about King James right now is the fact that Russell's getting a lot of heat, Melo's getting some heat. I'm gonna just say his whole team in general, the Lakers, and I haven't heard nothing but support, continuous support for Russ, support for the process, their team, support for AD. I've heard nothing but positive things from LeBron right now, and I think that's the ultimate leader. And in my opinion, if the Lakers weren't 6th in the West right now, maybe if they were 3rd, maybe even 4th, I think LeBron's in that MVP conversation. Everyone's talking about Ja. Everyone's talking about Ja, Curry, Jokic, which Don't get me wrong. They deserve every right to be in there. The Grizzlies are 4th in the West right now. The Grizzlies are playing unbelievable basketball. Don't get me wrong. But I do believe that based off LeBron being 6th in the West and the Lakers' struggles right now, I think that's hindering him from being in the MVP talk. But LeBron's been balling, so we can't take that away from him. We can say Lakers, but when somebody looks at me and says LeBron has been off this year, I can't go with that. I can say Lakers, but I can't say LeBron. LeBron has been very consistent from the jump of this year, and I think he's going to continue to give you that same energy. It doesn't matter who he plays. He's going to give you that same energy, and he's going to back his team up 100%.
Terry, so well put, man. Shout out to Latasha Prince, number love. She said, Big Bron, that's right. Here's the thing, man. I can't go back to that stat line, 36-9, for the month of December. For the whole month, that's how I'm riding. And here's the other thing, too, man. You know, you're right. He is dealing with all the pressure that all these guys have, man. But at the end of the day, man, what you going to do with him? And then the last thing I'll say about your comment about that MVP thing, you know who the problem is for LeBron James becoming the MVP? The problem is LeBron James. It's because he is who he is. He will always not be considered for that. That's like rich people can't call poor people broke. It ain't right. You know what I'm saying? You just can't do it. Tall people can't talk about somebody being short. It's like you can't address the obvious. And LeBron James is a masterpiece, dude. And I'm a fan. But I think this is not even being biased. You got to look at the work he does. He puts in, night out. And the disadvantage and the reason why we have people slight him so much is that we're so used to his greatness. I mean, you make the argument about how many rings, but he lived in the finals, though. He lived in and you may say finals are not the, championship, end all be all, but wherever he's at, this team is going to compete. So it'll be something to see. And it also could be, man, hey, you better quit chirping at me. You know what I'm saying? Y'all doing all this chirping. You see what I'm capable of doing. I know we had another few NBA statements. Right. Shout out to Hoops Baller Scoop. You say, Ja Morant is coming. Hey, man, I was watching him, and I was tempted to look at adding Ja in this conversation. But I gave Ja his props a couple weeks ago. If you remember, we were talking about what he had going on. But at the end of the day, man, do not sleep on King James. We're going to stay with the NBA for a second. We got a few more comments. Yes, Aaron, I did see that. Fellas, what's your opinion what happened with the Rockets with Porter Jr. and Wood? Oh, okay. I thought you was talking about something else because a commentator, supposedly, this is very new. Shout out to my guy, John D. White. He's the head coach over at Renaissance High School. He posted this. Supposedly, Porter Jr.'s dad is deceased, right? Had been incarcerated, I believe, and is deceased. And when Porter Jr. hit a shot, it's supposed to be that the commentator, and I heard the commentator say he's pulling the trigger just like his dad.
Oh,
so, yeah, it was a bad look. So the commentator immediately came back out and said he was confused. He thought it was a different Porter and so on and so forth. And in all fairness, rightfully so, they're like, at this level, dude, you're supposed to know who you're talking about, whatever or not. So that was a bad look all the way around. Didn't sound right. But I think what Aaron is talking about is that the back and forth they were having. And actually, I think Porter Jr. may have been the one that got into it with my guy, John Lucas. Had the pleasure of being at a USA basketball event with him. And he had me doing the demonstration. I was a stretch forward. He had me moving around on that. But anyway, I don't know, man. You got these young players in the league, man, finding their way, man. It's a tough way. And then Aaron also kind of going back to Hoops Hype. He posed a question about a local favorite. Quick thoughts on Denzel Valentine. Why can't he find a place in the NBA? Is it his work ethic? The Knicks have cut him. Speak on Valentine if you can. Well, last I thought he was on the roster with the Lakers.
Yeah, they did, and then it became a 3-team trade.
Okay.
So
well, that's a fair question. And I think the real answer to that is going to be he's just a unique – I mean, think about it. He was a unique type of guard. He's a unique type of player. And I'm saying this with number love to his family. Shout out to, V, his dad, Carlton Valentine. Shout out to his brother, Drew, over there at Loyola. I don't know, man. It just can be like a tweener situation with him. It could be that right now in the NBA, he doesn't have a go-to role he can play. He's not explosive. He's not a sharpshooter, But guys like him, he just may be around. And that's how the NBA goes sometimes, man. You got to realize, man, it's only 1 or 2 superstars on every team. Everybody else got to get in where they fit in. So that's a good question, man, and we'll keep watching that, But at this point, he's still in there. He's still getting them checks. He's still coming back every summer doing his camp. And considering from whence he came, I think he's doing well. Is there anything you want to add to that, Terry?
No, I think his game, just doesn't really translate to the league.
They just broke it down. Like, game don't translate to the league.
And we've seen that before. A ton of great college players just don't really do so well, and it just shows how hard it is to play in the league. Some guys just have it, some don't, and it's okay. Like, it's okay to be like, I'm just not good enough right now. Who knows if he doesn't pursue and try and maybe go overseas, then come back and make another push for it, like we've seen other guys before. But another guy like Doug McDermott struggled to find his way in there. Jimmer Fredette, as we know, can drop buckets, but it's hard to translate that to the league. So good or bad, but I think Denzel has had an interesting way with the Bulls. It wasn't very stable there, as we compare that with Bryn, who played in San Antonio. But it just Bryn's game translates a little bit better.
Well, he's a sharpshooter. He has a defined skill set.
Right.
That's good for the NBA. And I would also add era is good for the NBA right now. Who knows, man? Denzel would have been the perfect guard, a few more seasons ago or going forward. It's all about time. I hope we keep getting him checked. Hoops Hype, I want to say, forgive me, man. I know you did have a comment. You did also going back to Michigan State. Their record is better than they are. Purdue and Illinois, to me, are better teams. MSU for a reason. Yeah, I get that. We'll find out really soon, man, what's happening. And as it relates to this game against Michigan, because I think you had a comment earlier, too, about Michigan. I do want to go back. I want to make sure we get everybody's comments. That was Mike Hoops page said, and what's wrong with Michigan, or is it still too early to figure out? I think people don't realize they lost. Oh, yeah, I totally agree. They lost several significant members of their team. Juwan got that bonus to keep him around. But the thing about college teams, man, they're always going to be up and down. Like, when the team is at the best, that's probably when they have the most veteran players. Yeah. And when you start losing those players based on going to the NBA, whatever it may be, there's going to be some challenges as well. So I know we're going back and forth. I want to go back to Larry. Larry talked about Steph Curry. They say he's struggling last week or so because of problems with his wife. I used to talk about she got somebody on the side. Hey, man, let me tell you something. I never forget this. Shout out Tom Izzo again, and shout out to OG. I never forget this. Years ago, they said whenever a player is having a problem, in most cases it's something off the court. And in most cases, it got to do with a woman.
Oh, yeah.
You take that logic right there of people who've been around the game for a long time. You can't tell me if you have issues with your significant other and the world know that you're going to be able to stay and perform like you need to. Now, maybe in games like playoff games, there's a hypersensitivity that goes on where you can lock in more. But these regular season games and you leaving home and got all this stuff going on. Now, mind you, we don't know what Steph been into and what they doing. Aisha's stuff is out there. But whatever you have in those personal issues at home, man, it can have a huge effect. Also, staying with the NBA, Hoop Baller Scoop. Thoughts on Klay Thompson return this week? Scary. Hey, man, it just may be what Steph needs to kind of take the weight off him, take the tension off him. What's your thought on both that Aisha situation as well as Klay Thompson coming back, Terry?
I think, we see. I remember I was watching a game where the Suns had a pretty good game plan on Curry, but I was just really impressed to see the Warriors still compete, even though Curry wasn't playing on a high level that night. So it really shows how deep that team is. And it's funny to mention Klay Thompson. Jeff Van Gundy mentioned, why are they waiting to bring Klay back on a home game? If he's ready to play, put him on the road and play. So it was just really funny because, Klay deserves, all the credit and all the respect that he's getting as he comes back and all the celebration of him returning. And it's been like 900 something games or something. I've seen really high number of games he's missed due to injury. So I'm really excited to have him back. I think it's good for the game. He's a really good player. He plays the game really efficient, and I really miss seeing that in the game. The guy can score so many amount of points without taking dribbles. His ball movement. So I'm really excited for him. And I think he just adds another scoring option for the Warriors. And I think James Wiseman coming back too. I was just thinking about that last night. How are they going to do the rotation now? Because Bielitsa's been playing really good. Looney's been giving them really good minutes. And of course you got Draymond, and then Anderson comes in and gives them really good minutes defensively. Offensively, he's here and there. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see everyone kind of move around, and what better coach and system to have that problem, because they always seem to make it work. And I think it means a lot of fresh legs, and they're going to be ready for the playoffs because you have so many people that you can plug and play with as you continue to get ready for that NBA championship push.
Yeah, I totally agree. What we see with the Golden State Warriors, man, you got to give it up to them, man. They have a culture, a winning championship culture. And one person we got to realize, too, that's been consistent, even though he may not lead in the scoreboard, is Draymond Green.
Yeah.
The role he plays, how he hypes people up. And as much as I love Jeff Van Gundy, one of my favorite people, Jeff say anything, man, let that man come home first. Let him come home, and let's talk about, I put my sports psychology consultant hat on. The psychological impact of his first game that he's returning is love and support. You know what I'm saying? That's like getting an injury on the field and nobody come to help you off the field. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's returning, and you want to be able to give him that support so he can feel confident coming back. I don't care what you say. You don't come back off any injury feeling 100% that you're good. You need that support. Were you going to add something to that?
I was going to say, why rush? I mean, they're top of the league. I mean, I think with that loss last night, they're tied for the best record in the NBA. And your second best option or your second best player isn't playing. Why rush? I mean, let him come back and enjoy the moment. I mean, it's been a tough mental game for him. And there is a documentary out on YouTube that I really recommend people watching about Klay and his journey and how he's been pushing through these injuries. And it's really been interesting because I think for him to be at home is really cool. And why not have a little fun with it? I mean, the Warriors are having a lot of success. They've been really taking their time with, helping Klay with rehab. Why not end it with the first season debut back at home? I think it just fits for him.
I love it. And I will definitely want to check that YouTube video out. Hoops Hype, we appreciate you, man. You've been really dropping. He said that the Terrence Cooper interview was deep, raw, and uncut. I love his story. Hopefully he can stay clean. Yeah, I got a chance to sit down with my guy Terrence Cooper, representing Pray, People Ready, Activating Youth. We were over at Everett High School, which I'll be at tomorrow. And you're right, it was a raw interview. Terrence was very transparent about his struggle with substance abuse. He was very transparent about the laws that he broke years ago, going to prison for 5 years. And I think this comment that I'm acknowledging from Hoops Hype is perfect for our segue into the next topic, which is AB versus BA, baby. What you go do, what you go do. That picture of AB was taken at the Nets game. He was hanging out with Fabo, with Fabulous, doing his thing. Don't look like he got mental issues to me. So here's what I want to say. I'm a fan of Antonio Brown. And as much as I'm a fan of our guy Shannon Sharp, as well as Skip Bayless, I'll say that too, I just realized that it's very difficult for mainstream media, Terry, as we talked offline, to be able to embrace him. He is considered the villain, and he will be treated as such. Now, not to be outdone, the gentleman on his adjacent to him got his own way of dealing with things too, and he ain't just no perfect angel out here. I think what we saw with the back and forth with Antonio Brown and all that, and I'm not insulting people's intelligence when I put these statements up here, I think it's too much. I'm not going to read it. He just pretty much said the stuff that he was going through. He was saying that, hey, he tried to check in with the coaching staff. He was saying, hey, people are talking about if you were injured, how could you run off the field? And I do agree with people's point. There's a difference between planting your foot and getting ready to run off the line of scrimmage compared to just running off like he did. And it is what it is. But I will say this, Terry, then I'll defer to you on this issue. Don't hire a clown and trip when the clown goes to the circus. I mean, and I don't say that disrespectfully towards AB, but you know what kind of guy he is. You keep hiring him. You keep bringing him on. He brought you a Super Bowl a year ago, and everything was all good then. These are the antics you're going to get. But also, too, I just don't think that, Bruce Arians and the Bucs organization is totally without, some scrutiny to be placed upon them. We can start talking about these issues of expecting a player to play while they're hurt. All these other things about the potential of if he wasn't going to get looks because of incentives. There's so many things to do. So all I want to do is continue to humanize Adrian Brown. We can say we sick of him, we tired, but guess what? It can't be that bad. NFL keep hiring him. And guess what? He will be playing in the National Football League next season. Yeah, the Bucks cut them. They got what they need out of them. You got a Super Bowl with them. You can cut them and talk all that trash. But I also wonder if it makes the Bucks organization with Tom Brady, without Tom Brady, a place that people want to go. I just say, man, give me a break on AB. Somebody got a comment going right here. Let me see what's going on real quick. Talking about this guy. Aaron, so what Aaron say? I hate to say it, but AB is full of it. All right. If he felt that way he was hurt, why did he even dress for the game? Fine. We'll come back to that, Aaron. Latasha Prince says, my first thought was maybe he's dealing with CTE. Put this about CTE. They said the only way you can CTE is that cause of death. But I think what we're talking about is some traumatic brain injury. If I could go back, Terry, that play when he was back in Pittsburgh, when he got laid out. Hey, let you get busting your head like that and see how you end up acting and doing. But back to our brother Aaron Mays. Aaron, yeah, I get it, man. I get it. But, there's a certain amount of clownish behavior that AB gonna be allowed, and that's it. And what you say, the Bucks are not probably forthright either, but AB track record does not bode well, and that's the key right there. It's his track record, and it's his track record that'll lead most people to assume that AB is completely in the wrong. But we're not talking about completely stellar behavior by Bruce Arians and the Bucks too. Terry McCord Jr., what you got for it?
Well, with this whole thing, I think it's very touchy and interesting how I'm able to kind of interpret it, what's going on. You got one guy who's had not the best track record, is trying to find himself in the league again, and you got another guy who's the coach, known as a player's coach, a guy that players can kind of go to. They always have their players back, so it's really interesting. So I'm reading it, and what I see is that Brown is concerned about his safety. I think that's the first thing we have to look at. He's concerned about his safety. He chooses health over wealth. I saw the stat that he missed out on some money because of some yards he missed, a touchdown, because his contract included not accolades, but included benefits and bonuses if he completed so many amount of yards, touchdowns, receptions, this and that. So we're seeing Antonio Brown choose safety. We're seeing him be accountable for his previous actions in the statement.
And you can't tell me that the GM and the front office is not counting and not aware. And if they could save money, they would. So I just throw that out there.
That's real. And I think he's being accountable. He's talking about his previous actions. And a lot of people are saying, why did I do that? And I think it's really cool to see him be accountable with it. But for me, it's like the only people that really know what happened is Antonio Brown, the players on the sideline, like Mike Evans, who's trying to calm AB down, and Bruce Arians. Like those are the only people that know what actually happened. And so I think we just have to be really careful with it. I think that if that's what happened, I think what hurt his narrative is him walking off the field. Not only just walking off with his uniform still on. I mean, he fully took everything off and threw it into the fans. And I think that says something. It showed that something triggered him. And I think for me, it's like with someone who's dealing with these brain injuries or bipolar or things like where it's a mental illness going on right now, there are some triggers. And I think AB, with him feeling like he's not able to feel pain, I think in that sense, he's absolutely right. If you feel like you're not able to feel your emotions, that's a red flag for me. But what I want to understand is, did Bruce Arians do anything to trigger it on purpose, whether it's pushing him or just saying like, hey, AB, I want to see if you can really do it. We don't really want to rest this game. Because Bruce Arians has the reputation of putting players first, having that player relationship. Maybe Arians coming up to him and saying, hey, let's see what a doctor thinks to see if we can really get you out there. Maybe that was a trigger for AB to say, man, they really don't care about me. I'm done. I'm not doing this. And he said they cut him before that. So we're having a bunch of let
me add to this. You can talk about AB's professionalism, but let's argue the professionalism of cutting a player in the middle of a game.
Right.
And you're supposed to be the cooler head. To my mom's point, total support for AB on her end. And I couldn't help but do a rewind. Mom hanging out with John Madden years ago. That had the internet blown up. Everybody was loving seeing you do that, Mom. We appreciate you being there. Mother, I'm supporting AB because I want to humanize him. I want people to understand that, listen, you made the investment. I don't want to use the analogy of a snake to make any reference to AB being a snake, because I'm not trying to make that analogy, but I've heard the story of the man that found a snake frozen. He takes the snake home, puts the snake in front of the fire. The snake thaws out, and guess what the snake did? It bit him. And the man said, "I saved your life. Why'd you bite me?" He said, "You knew I was a snake when you brought me here. You knew Antonio Brown had issues. You know he got issues. Issues that kept him off the Patriots. Issues that kept him out of the most winningest coach, that is, with Mike Tomlin having the most winningest record in his 15 seasons. He couldn't deal with all these great cultural places because he got itch. Couldn't deal with the Raiders and Gruden. So you bring him in, you get what you got to get out of him. You get a Super Bowl. He started clowning on you, and you wondering, what happened. But you was already at the circus.
Yeah.
So with that being said, man, I don't feel bad for the Bucs organization in that regard. And it's just gonna take a certain type of person. I hear all these former coaches. Tony Dungy said, AB is playing the victim. Man, AB playing his hand. Play your hand, man. Play your hand. They brought you in. They wanted to get what they had to get out of you, because if you wasn't great, they wouldn't have brought you there. They want to act the way they want to act. I just, I may be in a minority when I say that. And I think for so many reasons, particularly not even African-Americans, but people look at them and their $1 million status. But y'all know what it is. This is not a surprise. If we continue to entertain him as a football player in the NFL, you're going to run the risk of these things happening. So what you going to do? And at the end of the day, did he go run over a Girl Scout and cut her head off? No, he didn't. He took his jersey off and he ran off the field. He jumped in the Uber. I think he stayed in town because he ended up going to the game. Hey, it must be nice. Can't get a ride home on a team plane. I just stay in town and go to the game, hang out with, platinum rapper, Fabulous. But he did stay and go get some treatment by a top doc. And he even made an argument that the doctor he got his treatment from was more highly rated than the doctor they was going to send him to. So there's a lot going on, man. The saga continues. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucs, take another shot across the bow, or if they'll just lay low and just let things fall over. But to cut somebody mid-game, that's a whole different level of what's going on. Anything you want to add to that, Terry?
I think it was just really unfortunate how things played out, leaving mid-game. I mean, we've seen, Vontae Davis retire mid-game. And that was crazy. So I think anytime you have something that happens in a game, you always think that players or a team should finish with who they started the game with and then make decisions. But I think just the way in his track record, I think that's the first thing people see instead of actually getting into the meat of the story. I think people just see something, they're like, oh, that's that guy who did such and such, and now he's doing this. What a surprise. But there's more to it. But at the same time, like, the Buccaneers knew what kind of player they were getting. And my only hope is that AB takes the time right now to figure out what those triggers are for you. And if not, how to deal with that a little bit better. Because I do believe that ever since that hit, nothing has been the same. And we can go down a timeline all we want about all that happened and make excuses for it. But it's just not adding up. I mean, I've heard, a metaphor where it's like, if you're saying everyone else is the problem, then the problem is you. Like, you're the problem. So it's
add this. This is so-called a communication, a text from Bruce Arians, and he was talking about making them aware. And this shows there was some discussion and dialogue, and this is him getting this treatment. So there are some things that's not totally out there. Now, somebody turned around and said, he faked the vaccination card. He can fake the text. Give me a break. Give me a break. I do want to add one thing, man. I want to take a quick break to talk about our sponsors. When we come back, Terry, we'll talk about what you live for, baby boy. That's that college football. We do a semifinal review. But what I want to do for the sake of time is I do want to wrap in the discussion about Harbaugh leaving Michigan for the NFL, that talk, how it's all Peachy for Tucker and the Spartans. And we'll finish up with Becky Hammon and the Wnba Aces' new coaching job. But again, want to thank our sponsors, referring to my guy, Horatio Williams and the Horatio Williams Foundation. Going to be down there on the 15th at Ferndale High School. Shout out to Juan Rickman, who's going to be hosting that in the Ferndale Falcons. Also, too, Dick's Sporting Good. Love me some Dick's. Going to Dick's Sporting Good. Love going there, man. Always a good thing. Always a good thing happening at Dick's. And Gilead Sciences, man. They're doing so much for the community, particularly community of color. We appreciate them and their support. So, Terry, with that being said, man, we want to talk about college football semifinal review, man. I mean, you know, I know you was all over that. You was glued to the screen, but we end up having Alabama and Georgia prevail. I don't think many people were surprised, with the exception of people who live in Ann Arbor and Cincinnati. What you got for us, man, to talk about this semifinal review?
Well, I see the same narrative for both games. You know, you just have to be able to capitalize on drives. Alabama won time of possession against Cincinnati, and Georgia won against Michigan. Michigan wasn't able to run the ball.
Determine the game. That time of possession was pretty much it.
I think more so the Michigan game, because when you're a team like Georgia and Michigan, ball control is very important for you. I think Cincinnati relies on more bigger plays to me, and so does Alabama, which is really weird because Alabama ran the ball extremely well, 301 yards rushing. So I think Alabama played the ball control game, even though I thought they'd be able to come but Cincinnati's defense is no joke. So Alabama took their time and kind of like a heavyweight boxer and kind of fielded their way through the rounds, and then was able to give that home run punch at that heavyweight punch at the end. So it was really nice to see that. But more so the Michigan game, where it was more so about ball control. And Georgia, you know, their quarterback Bennett, he was a lot more explosive than I thought he would be. He has some inconsistencies with throwing the football and decision making, but I mean, we just saw SEC football take over. Unfortunately, like SEC took over, and you know, Michigan turning the ball over as many times as they did, and not being able to stop the run and stop the pass. Georgia threw for 301 yards passing. I mean, Georgia is throwing the ball 200, getting 200 yards passing is surprising to Georgia, because they're run the football, move the chains, throw if we have to kind of keep you honest. But when it all comes down to it, they want to literally dominate the line of scrimmage, and they want to impose their will on their defense and wear you down. And we saw them do that through the air. And that's why I was just like, man, Georgia's hungry. I don't think Michigan fans or Michigan football really understood how hungry Georgia was. Now we have to think about this. Kirby Smart has heard, no matter what team he has, y'all can't beat Bama. Y'all can't beat Bama. Y'all can't beat Bama. He's heard that so many times, and it's true. He cannot beat Bama.
So you heard it so much because it's true. Hey, Terry McCord Sr. said Alabama and Georgia in a league of their own.
And it's true. But the thing is, Georgia is so hungry because they fought so hard through this year, got to the SEC championship game, was going to go to the playoffs no matter what, but they lost badly. I don't think that was a good loss for Georgia. And they knew that Michigan was the only person in their way to change the narrative of their season and winning the national championship and beating Alabama. So I just think Michigan got caught in the crossfire.
And Michigan was collateral damage, huh?
They were, and they were just in the way.
Out the street. Keep them Wolverines out the street. They shooting. Keep them out the street.
They were in the way. The stray bullets, and I think Georgia knows what they have to do, and it just makes Monday's game even more important, because Georgia's looking to get some redemption. We've seen that time and time before where Alabama is there, and they're looking to keep away the team that's looking to get some redemption against them. But Alabama has always been successful. So we don't know. My prediction is that Alabama wins. I just think that they do things the way that their offense is a little bit more developed and consistent to me. That Cincinnati game showed me that Alabama is willing to stick to the run and do what it takes to win the game, and not looking to get style points. So I'm a fan of Alabama right now.
And to Aaron Mays' point, but really quick, Latasha, we appreciate you, love. I'm no longer bitter about the L we took. She's okay. She's moving on. But check it out. To Aaron's point, he said the Michigan versus Georgia game was a telling sign of athleticism and physicality. But guess what else I add to that, Aaron? Elite recruitment, the most elite level recruitment. Because here's the thing. Georgia and Alabama, for the most part, are going to get the best players consistently all the time. It's going to always happen. Somebody made a comment about Duke. Yeah, Coach K is so good because he's going to get all the best players. It's on autopilot. It's like it's going to take care of itself. So when you talk about that, who knows if you switched the schemes out and Michigan was running the same type of offense that Georgia was running, how would it be different? It's about those players. And you're absolutely right,
It's
Aaron.
7 o'clock.
That athleticism, that physicality. But man, it is a tough way to go. Netta just joined in. She said, "Hey fellas, mad late, but wanted to say what up." And that interview with Cooper was amazing. Hey, Terrence Cooper is an amazing guy, and I think the fact that he's lived the life he's lived and he's telling his story, it allows the content to be like that. I was happy to be there and kick it with him. That's my guy. She said, "I will go back and watch the show." We appreciate that, and I do go back myself personally and watch that Terrence Cooper interview myself to be inspired by what he did. But man, the reality is, let's transition from that into Harbaugh leaving for the NFL. And let me tell you why I think that this is more of a reality than we think. With Harbaugh going back to the league, the place that he, had these great experiences with. And I like Jim Harbaugh from my time sitting down with him several years ago at the Rachel Williams Foundation for a great interview to now. Here's the thing. He's a realist. He said, I can't beat those teams, man. And I can say all I want to say about I'm going to recruit, go do all that, but there is a different level, man, as far as what's going on with those recruitment opportunities. And I think Harbaugh, and I ain't even mad at him. He said, look, I beat Ohio State. I won a Big Ten championship. I got to go. That's it. And I made it to the playoffs. Now I got to go. And I'm not mad. Now I know Michigan State fans are going to say that Harbaugh leaving or used to, no, mama, he gone. He's gone. He's out.
To the Raiders.
He'll be out because he'll go to the Ravens to replace his brother.
No, I know Raiders. Yeah, I think he's going.
Why not, man? It's back on the West Coast, whatnot. And I ain't mad. Hey, Aaron, give me a big I agree, Lindsay, and let him be gone. Now the Michigan State people will talk about him, whatnot. But he's being a realist, man. He's like, he can never come out and say it, but people should say it for him. He's not going to be able to beat these teams. He's not going to be able to beat the elite level of what Nick Saban has established there, what Georgia has established, man, because here's the thing. Alabama and Georgia, Alabama in particular, they don't have to recruit you. You're going to want to go there. I use a line that my mama said, all right, Jim, all right, Jim. The line that Coach Calipari used at Kentucky. I want you, but I don't need you. I want you, but I don't need you. And that is how Georgia and Alabama is recruiting the best soon to play on Sunday players.
Yeah.
Everybody at Michigan is not playing on Sunday. Some are. Want my guy Raheem to play on Sunday. Hutchinson be playing on a few. But them guys that go to Georgia and Alabama are just biding their time till they go play on Sunday. And what'd you say, Terry McCorsey? He ain't going to beat Ohio State no more. Good point. Good point. He like, this ain't going to happen again. Not like this. He said he probably said, look, dude, I beat Ohio State. I made Terry mad by beating Ohio State. Won me a Big Ten championship. Went to the college playoff. If that ain't a sign for me to get my butt up out of here, I don't know what is. And he was already on a new contract where it was incentive-based. So
took a pay cut, too.
Yeah, he had to do all that, but he could walk out there with some dignity, man. Big up to Jim Harbaugh. What do you think about the idea? Do you think it's a foregone conclusion, or am I being too extreme?
No, I think you're right on target. That's what I was gonna come in with. He's. I was reading an article my mom sent me, and it was talking about how they believe that Jim Harbaugh has reached the ultimate peak of Michigan football, and that's making it to the playoffs and losing to Alabama or Georgia or whoever team is in front. And my point on this is when is there going to be a better time than now? I mean, you're on top. You got players that are leaving, going to the draft.
While you're on top.
And it's like leave while you're on top, and
why they want him, players. And why they want him.
Right, that's a good point.
He buzzing again.
Right, and took a pay cut, and my opinion is that he's going to get a really nice payday for whatever team, because they believe that it's going to take a lot to get Harbaugh out of Michigan. So they're going to pay him really nice. If he goes to the Raiders, they have the money for it. They're going to pay him.
Also, too, guess what? They need him to come because he's going to be the least likely to bring controversy, i.e. John Gruden.
Right.
You ain't going to have them issues with Jim Harbaugh, and I think it's something to be said about that. It's not like we should give people a pass for not being racist or something like that, but you're just not going to have them issues. And what Aaron said, too, Michigan will not compete against them other schools, especially with NIL and their existence. Aaron, you be serious about this sports stuff. You're right. He's seeing all that. And you make an excellent point, Terry. Go out while you're on top. I think he's beyond the point of being concerned about what the haters say.
He was successful, too, in the NFL. I mean, a guy who, you know, when Kaepernick was his quarterback and made it to a Super Bowl.
He was one light switch away from winning the Super Bowl.
Right.
That light switch, but it was they say it was some mob ties going on with that. Mom said his dream win. Yeah, go out on top, get it while you can. And he probably also realized that his stock was rising a little bit more. So I am not mad at him. Let's switch gears on that a little bit to our guy as well, Mel Tucker. It's all peachy for Mel Tucker and the Spartans. Could it be even better for him right now for what he's accomplished? You go from a 2-5 season a year ago to right now having some of the top recruits in the nation, bringing the program back, winning the Peach Bowl. I mean, what else can you say? What do you think about what's happening with our guy Mel Tucker?
I picked Sparty to win that game. I didn't think it'd be that close. I just felt like the whole time Pitt was playing not to lose, and they had that lead, and it was more so like kind of how Iowa plays, and I got so annoyed watching them play. They're just a very like conservative play style. We rely on our defense. We punt the ball on fourth down. Very methodical offenses, and that's what I saw from Pitt. But Pitt's defense is legit. I like watching them play. Michigan State won time of possession by over 10 minutes. Pitt was 2-12 on third down. We just saw Jaden Reed take over, but a guy that should get a lot of credit, and the two guys I think is Jalen Naylor and Connor Hayward, and I think we saw how different that offense can be when Naylor is in there. I think Naylor is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, X factor, because we know what Reed can do. We're watching Reed, but when you mix in Naylor with another speedy guy on the outside, you have to take account for. And when Connor Hayward is giving you some really significant time on the field, I think that changes the game. It changes how you approach things. Having that Connor Hayward being able to receive the ball really well and run after catch, and Naylor being a mismatch problem, you don't know who to exactly put on him, but you have to take account for Reed. I think it was really cool seeing Michigan State play well. And even though Thorne didn't play the best, his playmakers did. And he was a game manager. He was able to control what was going on and didn't really overdo it. And I saw another funny thing too. Coach Tucker went from being a $400 a month grad assistant to a $95 million over 10-year deal. So I mean, started from the bottom. Now we're here. And now he's up. I mean, in the same spot. Like, what a better storyline.
He said he used to sleep on the couch there, man. I've had numerous conversations. I said my his lovely wife, right when he came to Michigan State. He grinds, man. He lives in the football facility, and that's a great example of that paying off for him in a big payday. And that's Terry McCord Sr. saying, right, exactly. We got a few more things before we get out of here. Actually, one more thing before we get out of here we want to talk about. Finally, Becky Hammon finally making a decision to go back to the WNBA. She was a player for the Aces, and now she is at the time, I believe they were the Stars when they were in San Antonio, but there she is with Coach Popovich. She's been around for a long time. Many thought that she was going to end up getting that job, possibly the Portland job, and be the first woman to be an NBA coach. But I just thought it was interesting, Terry, and I want to go back to a comment that Women's Hoops posted. I want to make sure we get her. Like I said, I'm coming back to everybody's comments. Everybody comment. We got it in. What I wanted to say was one second while I find this comment. Women's Hoops said, you think Becky Hammon took the WNBA job because the NBA head coach job probably wasn't coming real soon. I totally agree. But you also said, save this for later. I'm not sure, but what's going on with Gino and Muffet? I want to come back to that in a second. I want to talk about Becky. I think so, man. And what I was getting from Becky, man, Becky kind of seems like, and it's sad. This is sad, and people can call me out on this. It's sad that when a woman in a leadership role does not come across very likable, that they can give all kind of terms, calling her the B word. I'm not saying that people have, but she just really didn't come off as being connectable. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder if that played a role with her not getting that job to be the first the first former WNBA player and first female coach to get a head coaching job. Now, it's sad. Here we are in the sexist world. Somebody can say, oh, man, they don't say Rick Carlisle is nice. They don't say that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I get that. I understand that. But I just think that when you are breaking ground for something, you're breaking through a glass ceiling, there's a different thing. She probably say, you know what the hell? I'm just going to get up out of here with it. What did our boy Aaron May said? Our guy, he says, I'm very happy for Becky Hammon. However, I don't think she was ever going to get a fair shot as an NBA coach. I don't know. Is Dawn Staley more suited because of her pedigree? I don't know, man. But I know she got the bag. She got the largest head coaching salary for the WNBA, and that's saying something about their parity as well. So what do you think about this whole situation with Becky Hammon going to the WNBA?
I think, her chance to coach in the NBA is very slim. I think her going,
is that for any female coach, or may just be for her?
I think it's any woman, in my opinion. Just because of sexist mentality, and there's not. It's hard to kind of break that bridge right now. Hopefully soon. I do believe that we're at a progressive point in the league where we're gonna see some changes happen.
There are a lot of women on coaching staff, so you'd be surprised. Yep. Cleveland has someone on their coaching staff. Some other teams, so you'd be surprised if you just see somebody get elevated and it just catches everybody off guard. It just won't be a high profile like Becky Hammon.
And I think this might be a long shot, but I think her having success with the Aces, I think that could potentially maybe open up a chance to go.
Because now she does have a head coaching role.
Right. That and it's shown that she's interested. When you put your name in, you start applying for these jobs, and you're like, all right, cool. I made myself known. I'm networking. I'm in there. I'm gonna go take this job here, get some experience. Then when the coaching carousel happens, and they're like, oh, we can't seem to find someone. Or what about Becky? How is she doing over there? She was on our radar, but we didn't really pay her much mind. Oh, let's bring her in. Let's talk to her. I think once she put her name out there into the radar, I think it does ultimately leave you a spot when those coaching talks do happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if her team or agent is able to put her name in some places, as we see some coaches maybe leave after this year. I know she just got there.
But here's the thing. If she's leaving the WNBA as the highest paid WNBA coach, you wonder if that's going to put additional pressure on the NBA team to give her a significant salary. Because the other part is they don't want to get with a pay inequity issue. Oh, you're not paying the women as much as you're paying the men. I mean, there's so many factors that go with that. And also I wondered too, man, is she going to have a natural transition going back to coaching women? People may say, oh, man, that's an easy answer. But I just wonder if she's been coaching men for so long that it'd be different. I do want to get the women's basketball's comments. I just want to check on one more thing. I got Aaron said, if anybody will get a shot, I think it'll be Kara Lawson. That's my girl right there. I got a big crush on Kara Lawson at Duke. I totally agree. I can see her making that transition because she's been around. And if you ask me, because I've been able to hear a lot of Kara and I we're connected on LinkedIn. I respond to her comments. She always show love back. I think, and I'm so glad you did that, Aaron. I owe you a nice adult beverage when we get down, as they say, in the next couple of weeks. All right. No, seriously though, because her relatability, and I don't know what Becky Hammon's voice is, and it may not matter because it only may matter to the Las Vegas Aces or whatnot. But Kara Lawson has a philosophical approach that I think can really bring people in, and the fact that she's had this role with Duke, not taking anything away from Becky Hammon being with Pop for all these years, it's allowed her, I think, to be a little bit more palatable and people respond. I'm just a huge fan of her, man. I'll tune in to Kara Lawson any moment to get some good experience and some good words. Let me just say this. Women's basketball, and this will be our last comment before we wake up, before we wrap up. She said, save this for later. I'm sure the young fella's on it. Giving you props, Terry. But what's your thought on Geno versus Muffet, the former Notre Dame coach? Why Geno fired back at Muffet, but was a mouse when it came to Candace Parker talking? Interesting.
I think Muffet and Geno have always been back and forth. I think it's just the rivalry back there in the Sky Dig and Maya Moore and those days with Kayla McBride, like Notre Dame and UConn. Notre Dame was always that that dark horse that always gave UConn a run for his money, and made comments about you guys always get the best players, and that was where a lot of that was juiced up, and emotions were juiced up about that. But I think it's just more of a coaching rivalry, and I just think that Gino's in a spot right now where he's being very selective on what battles he's choosing, because I think the Candace battle is a lot harder than the Muffet battle, and I agree. And Muffet's off the sport now. Like Muffet's not around, and Candace is on the rise. So it's like, am I going to battle with platform?
Right. Candace has a bigger platform. She can light him up every NBA game. She can light him up, all these things. So he's probably being really careful. And it may be just so much truth to what Candace is saying that he don't want to put himself out there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Compared to that. So that's a very interesting point. Thank you, women's basketball. I want to thank everybody. You guys really make our show worthwhile. Shout out to our guy, Orlando Watkins. We haven't been able to catch up with he's a coach in the handling business. Shout out to John and Patrick Rutherford, our guys as well. I want to shout out Aaron Mays. Aaron, I do mean what I say, man. We're going to get together down there, they say, and catch up. Give me one of them salmon burgers or whatever. Well, not one of them nights. I'm not going to a cold King football playoff game, but it worked out. They got them the state championship. But definitely want to say that. Terry, you got anything to say before we get up out of here?
No, I honestly, just one thing real quick. Just the game coming up, Michigan State.
That's right.
Just to answer the question before, I have Michigan State winning. I think Michigan has a lot of question marks for me right now. But I think that in this game, throw out the records, throw out the amount of times won and the experience. It's about who plays the best basketball for 40 minutes. So I think Michigan State does. They are playing on the road. So Chrysler Center will be, erupt and ready for the Wolverines to
and Michigan's past record will have no impact on this game. That is, your records don't matter. No matter what, this is like they go get, and this could be the game to spark Michigan getting back together for their season.
Right, and that's something that's really dangerous with MSU coming in. I just think that Michigan State's guard productivity is a lot better for me to feel good with coming into the game choosing them, because I think guard play is very important and defense, and I think that Michigan State's backcourt is playing a lot better to me than Michigan is right now, and I think that's why they have the advantage coming in for Saturday.
Wow, you heard it here first. Terry McCord, always on. We appreciate you. I want to say thanks again to everybody. We appreciate the support of the show. We're getting ready to get it deep to this season, high school and college, and and Terry's favorite time of the year is winding down with college football winding down, but we'll be watching the NFL and everything else that happens. So with that, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.